Good afternoon, guys. I'm here for the afternoon session here. Seeing who's in here. Have any questions? We're talking about bacteria for right now. So just gonna go over some things on bacteria. If you want to say hi or good afternoon, so I know who's in here. We got one person so far. If there's any questions you have about assignments, and assignments are due. They were due on Friday to be turned in. And stuff in the grade book, so up to Thursday this week's the final day. So I'll give a few minutes for some people to check on in if there's any questions you have. Yeah, I got a couple people in here. If anyone wants to say hello, good afternoon. We're talking about bacteria for today. Oh, okay. Hi, Christian. How are you? Good to see you. All right, any questions you have, Christian? Any work that you need to be turned in? Make sure you get it in by Thursday this week. Thursday is the last day this week for missing work. Okay, so make sure you get caught up on all your projects there. Okay, a couple more people. Hi, who's Soraya? How are you, Soraya? Any questions about anything of missing work? All work is due as of Friday. All right, we'll talk a little bit about bacteria. So let's talk a little bit about bacteria right now to get started. Who could tell me what is bacteria? There's no questions about assignments that you could ask anytime. Let's talk a little bit about bacteria. So what can we say? What is bacteria? Who wants to give me bacteria, what it means to you in your own definition? If you want to write something in the chat bar there. So tell me, what is bacteria? Or where do you think bacteria is? So who could tell me what is bacteria? If you want to write it in your chat bar there. Anybody else have any questions here? Okay. Yeah, we do. It's on, not on viruses, on bacteria, Soraya. And we're just talking about it. Where there's no project, there's no brain pop. We're just talking about it today. Okay. So I'm asking right now, what is bacteria? Okay, it's a type of biological cell. Okay, you're on the right track there. Okay. All right, bacteria basically is a living thing, okay, and it's like a form of it could be like in a form of it's like a type of germ, okay. They're related to germs, so they are living things, and they are usually living things without a nucleus. We call those prokaryotic. Remember, we studied prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So bacteria are prokaryotic cell-like organisms that have genetic material that's not contained in a nucleus. So the DNA of a bacteria cell is found floating and usually the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm, remember, was that jelly-like material that holds the cell together. All right, what is a flagella? I know we talked about that briefly too. With flagella, bacteria have flagella, so I'm going to put that up here as well. What is flagella? So you can tell me what is flagella there. Who can tell me what is flagella or flagellum? So what is flagella or flagellum? It's a part of a bacteria, so I'll give you a clue with that. Okay, looks like Sarai is mentioning here organelles defined by function rather than structure. Okay, but the flagella, that's a good answer. The flagella is a long whip-like structure that helps the cell move. It's like a little whip at the end of it. All right. So plural meaning flagellum, meaning multiple whips. Some of them have that. So bacteria have many flagella or flagellum, usually for their movement. Now, there are three basic shapes to bacteria. So I'm going to go over the three types of shapes that there are. The bacteria can be shaped like spiral shapes, like spiral, like the spirals, like the spaghetti that looks spirally like. All right, they could be sphere shaped, which means they're circular or round, or they could be rod shaped, like a pill or a cylinder. Okay, so those are the three basic shapes of bacteria. So sphere, spiral, and rod shape. They call the rod shape bacillus. They call the spiral shape spirilla. Okay, it would be a name for them. So um, the chemical makeup of the cell wall determines the shape of the bacteria cell. So the shape helps scientists identify the type of bacteria that it is. Okay, so that's just some key factors in there as well. So, the size of bacteria. The size of bacteria vary greatly. The largest bacteria is basically about the size of a period that you would put at the end of a sentence. Pretty small when you're writing. Okay, that would probably be about the largest size that they could reach. Average bacteria are much smaller. but they're usually measured in micrometers or millionths of a meter, so they can be very small. So it's very hard to see, and that's why you need microscopes to see them. Okay, but bacteria obtain food and energy differently. So all bacteria need the following to survive, and that is a source of food, which is one, and a way to break down the food to release energy. Okay, so all bacteria need a food source of food and down um, and break down the food to release the energy. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how that releases it because we studied this. So one way bacteria breaks down the food are called autotrophs. They're autotrophic. So what does autotrophs mean? So what is an autotroph? Put it over here um, in the toolbar here. So we can find out what is an autotroph. Look that up. Someone could find that in here. We've got about 5 people in here right now checking in. So thank you for participating for those that are here talking about bacteria for today. So who can find that? What is an autotroph? Okay, so what is an autotroph? Who could tell me? I'm looking for an answer on an autotroph. Who could give me an answer on an autotroph? Yes, Ryan, we're not talking about that right now, but I'm looking for an autotroph. Okay, yeah, you'll still be continuing to do work. Absolutely, yep, required to be here. Okay, looks like we got an answer here. Looks like is this Vicente? I think. Not too sure. Is this Vicente putting an answer here? Maybe not. Looks like you erased your answer. So an autotroph. What is an autotroph? I'm asking you. We studied that earlier when we talked about cells. It's probably in your notes before. All right, organism that's able to form nutrition, organic substances from simple inorganic. Okay, looks like you provided that answer there. Looks like Soraya, and as I'm assuming that's Vicente. Not bad answer. Okay. All right. So basically, it's an organism that makes energy from their own food. So organisms that make their own food are called autotrophs. Think of photosynthesis. That's a process of an autotrophic process. So two ways autotrophic bacteria make up food. One, some capture and use the sun's energy to make food, and two, some use the energy from the chemicals in the environment to make food. Okay, so autotrophs can be as well. Okay, so autotrophic make their own food through photosynthesis. All right, that's a little bit different from a heterotroph. So if you could look that one up for me right now, what is a heterotroph? All right, what is a heterotroph? So look that one up. Opposite of autotroph. Autotroph gets energy from the sun. What is a heterotroph? Okay, an organism. Okay, you're close there, Soraya, but a heterotroph is an organism getting energy that has to obtain it by eating another organism. So heterotrophs or heterotrophic are organisms that cannot make their own food. So they must consume other organisms or the food of other organisms to make. Okay? So that's how they have to get their energy that way. All right? Good job. All right, continuing on in some parts of this. We studied this word before, respiration. What is, we studied during the respiratory system, what is respiration? What does respiration mean? Excuse me, there's a little bit of a review of some things that we talked about. What is respiration? What is respiration? What does that mean? Okay, good job, Soraya. It means the action of breathing. Same with yeah, so looks like Sarai is the only one to put an answer on that. So good job. It is the act of breathing. Respiration means to breathe. So bacteria needs there's the process of breathing, breaking down food which use oxygen. But bacteria does not often need oxygen. They can survive through what a process called fermentation as well. Bacteria reproduce frequently. They have plenty of food. If they need to have the right temperature. the other conditions such as water and so on, for the right chemicals can be ideal as well. So under the best conditions, ideal bacteria can reproduce as often as once up to every 20 minutes. Okay. All right, so how they reproduce, they produce what they call a process called binary fission. So in this process, there's the process of reproduction in bacteria where one cell divides and two identical cells form. So it's a type of, basically a type of asexual reproduction, which the reproductive process that involves only one parent and produces offspring that are identical to the parent. So that's how they reproduce through binary fission as a form of asexual reproduction. Okay. Any questions so far as we're continuing on with bacteria? Now, binary fission, like I was saying, it's a form of asexual reproduction, is just like cell division. All right, when we studied not too long ago. So cell division for the animal and plant cells. Okay, binary fission is a type of asexual reproduction for bacteria. So two daughter cells from a parent is split to two daughter cells, and they're being identical to one another for that cell division. And they also have a process, another part of sexual reproduction called conjugation, which is one bacterium. This is a process with one bacterium gives some of its DNA into another bacterium through a thread-like bridge. Okay, so that is a unique process that it can do there too. Okay, all right, all right. Any other questions so far? All right. Moving on. Now, bacteria are among the oldest living organisms on Earth, and they are very small. Because bacteria is a structure that's so small or minute, okay, it's another word for small, it could be only been seen through a microscope. Most bacteria some bacteria might be able to see without a microscope, but most need a microscope to see it. So the bacteria is commonly found in the ground and water and in other living organisms as well. Okay. So while some types of bacteria could cause diseases and become harmful to the environment, animals and humans, others offer benefits that we likely could not live without too as well. Okay. So those are some unique processes there. Okay. 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 So in humans, certain types of bacteria can cause certain types of illnesses like tetanus, pneumonia, tuberculosis, and other illnesses. All right. So what that means is as long as a host is not affected with an antibiotic resistant bacteria, they could be treated with antibiotics, which kill bacteria or at least hamper their growth. Remember, antibiotic, we talked about those, help kill bacteria because it's like an infection. Bacteria infections, we'll talk about some bacteria infections that happen to us. Okay. So that's another thing there. Antiseptics as a sterilization and disinfectants can help prevent contamination and a risk of infection from bacteria too. All right. So that could be another thing there mentioned. All right. So why is the earth covered with bacteria? Well, the primary reason may be that conditions are rarely optimum, meaning scientists who study bacteria try to create an optimum environment in a lab. So that means that the culture medium is necessary with enough energy, nutrients, pH, temperature, in which bacteria grow predictably. Okay, so bacteria are basically all around us. Given good growing conditions, a bacteria forms two daughter cells, like I mentioned before, each with the same genetic material as the parent cell. Okay, and that's how that they start to split and they start to replicate. Okay, and create more and more daughter cells, identical cells to them. Okay, from one another. All right, excellent. All right, so that being said, we also have friendly bacteria, okay, as well. So friendly bacteria is used to describe the types of bacteria that offer some benefit. So not only does bacteria help produce not only help produce the food that we eat, and it keeps the soil fertile. It helps us digest our foods as well. Okay, all right. So that's what it helps us do is for digestion, because we have helpful bacteria in our gut, in our intestines and small intestines that help digest that food. Okay. All right. Any other questions so far about bacteria? All right. Continuing on. Now, what are types of germs? It says here. Um, Germs are found all over the world in all kinds of places. Four major types of germs um, are bacteria like viruses, fungi, and protozoa, and they can invade plants, animals, and people, and sometimes they even make us sick. All right, so bacteria are tiny one cell creatures that get nutrients from their environments in order to live. In some cases, that environment is the human body. So, bacteria can reproduce outside the body or within the body as they cause infections. Some infections include if you have ever had sore throat or strep throat or ear infections, cavities, pneumonia, those are all coming from a bacteria. Okay, so those are bacterial like infections. So if you've had a sore throat or strep throat, we're out of school for 3, 4 days, maybe even a week or longer, that is from that. Okay, all right, so that just making that mention. Okay. And continuing on with about bad bacteria, there's all kind of, like I said, there's good and bad bacteria. So harmful and non-harmful bacteria. So, like I said, our stomach has good bacteria for us. Okay. And what do germs do? Well, germs, of course, once germs invade our body, they snuggle in and they stay for a long time. They take in nutrients and energy and can produce toxins, which are like poisons. And these toxins can cause symptoms of common infections, fever, sniffles, rashes, coughing, sneezing, diarrhea, and so on. Okay. All right, next I'm going to talk about is how foods could become contaminated by bacteria from many different sources during food preparation and storage process. So, one way is what they call cross contamination. Cross contamination is the contamination of a food product from another source. And there's three ways that we could cross contaminate our food. All right, the first one is food to food, meaning um, meaning that so food to food, like food touching a food. So, like meat touching a vegetable in a refrigerator, it's contaminating it. People to food, people not washing their hands touching the food. And same with equipment to food, meaning the equipment was not cleaned and it's touching the food. So, these are some ways that you could get sick this way. All right. Food to food, food can become contaminated by bacteria from other foods, and this type of contamination is especially dangerous if raw foods come into contact with cooked foods. Okay, all right. So there's food to food cross contamination, meat drippings, and so on for that. So if meat drips from your refrigerator to a lower from a higher shelf to a lower shelf, maybe chicken touching onto a steak or something like that, raw chicken placed on a grill touching a steak, that can be contaminated that way too. Um, Handling food, like I said, handling foods usually foods after using the restroom without first properly washing your hands. If you've been in restaurants before, you see, please wash your hands before returning back to work. So you could get sick that way too. Someone not washing their hands that works in a food kitchen. All right, and people to food. So, like I was saying, or still food to food. This is the same example of touching raw meats when preparing vegetables without washing your hands first. And then the last one I was mentioning here is washing your hands between handling different foods after using the restroom, and washing and sanitizing all equipment, utensils that you come in contact with. So avoid touching face, hair, skin, wiping your hands on clean clothes, and make sure you store food away properly. So those are other ways that bacteria could be infected that way. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions? All right, that's everything on bacteria that I wanted to cover with you guys. So all missing work, you have till Friday to do everything, all your brain pops, all your projects that we went through, all the body systems this quarter. I am extending any missing work up till absolute latest date is this Thursday. So whatever you don't have done, Thursday is the final date. So make sure you double check and make sure everything's in. Okay. All right, so Thursday is the very last day of all missing assignments. All right, any other questions? Tomorrow we don't meet. Thursday, Wednesday we would meet, but we are not meeting because you're doing NWA testing from home. Okay. All right, so that's going to be on your computer with NWA. You're doing NWA math testing on Wednesday. So we won't be meeting the rest of the week. That's why we're just covering this. That's why all your projects have to be due and in submitted, and your brain pops. So make sure you've caught up with everything on that. Okay, there is no assignment for bacteria, no brain pop for bacteria. Any questions before I sign off for today? We'll wait a minute or two on any questions, and then I'm signing off here. So make sure you understand what's going on with the work that's being needs to be completed. Okay, well, I'm gonna wish you guys a good afternoon and a good rest of your day. Make sure all work will be in by Thursday. So have a good afternoon, guys. How's everything on bacteria? So good job, and I'll be checking to see the stuff that comes in from you guys on your messages from your assignments. All right, have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.